Hey guys, welcome back to the Max Spence Business Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, but before I jump into that, if you guys like the content I'm putting out, please like, subscribe, leave a review. It helps out a ton with the podcast. If you can go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, that helps out a ton as well. So without further ado, today's guest is Brad Rollo. So he is the CEO and co-founder of GoFor. So GoFor provides on-demand deliveries of construction materials. Before GoFor, Brad ran a construction company for 7 years. If you're in the construction space, I highly recommend that you check out this company. They're actually doing some really cool stuff in the construction space with the deliveries. But yeah, it's great having you on the show, Brad.
Great to be here. Thanks for the invite, Max.
Awesome. So why don't we do a very quick intro for people that maybe don't know who you are? How did you get into the entrepreneurship space? Starting, I know you have a tech background, then you also have a construction background, and how that sort of, how did sort of GoFor come around and the idea start?
Yeah, so you got it right. I had a really strange background, especially in the construction world and tech now that have that, the other pieces, right? So construction was something I did between jobs and was my summer job, that sort of thing. Ran that through the early 90s before I got into what's called geographical information systems, right? That brought in my technology backing. I really enjoyed, hands-on working on computers and doing GIS. That took me through the late 90s where I decided to make a transition and get into into high tech, right? Ottawa was growing a very significant high tech community. And I joined a company called Bystream. Bystream at the time was one of the top funded tech companies Canada had ever seen. We raised $20 million in the .com days, and we're selling into some of the biggest .com players that you may have never heard now because some of them are gone. So we got to see that, that kind of bubble from the inside, all the ridiculousness of it, right through to the bursting of the bubble. From that, I went to a couple other startups where I, again, mostly on the product management side, the business development, before really kind of, working with all these great founders, getting the entrepreneurial spirit. And, because I had a background in the business side and not a technology side, I decided to start a construction company. So my goal in the construction company was to really leverage technology to creating efficiencies around construction. And that was a great idea, but it was nearly impossible in, kind of early 2000s, circa 2005. There was just so many different pieces. Nobody was using technology. Construction was very, very stuck in its tradition. So, kind of got through running a company for 10 years, kind of gave up on all those ideas until about 2015, when I was sitting over with a couple of friends at a Royal Oak in Ottawa, having a beer and with another construction guy and complaining about our jobs, right? What we did. And as an owner operator, your biggest complaint usually is that you're spending all your time in your truck running around being called a glorified gopher, right? You're getting materials for your job site. So I had a very sharp friend next to me who just kind of looked at me and said, dude, you're a product manager. Why don't you solve this problem? And actually on that day on a napkin, that traditional napkin story, we named GoFor and launched GoFor right there, or the basis of it. I then spent the next bunch of months going back to my product management experience, defining the product, defining the company, building out logos, building all the pieces that we needed to get it going. Later that summer in 2017, or 2016, sorry, I met my co-founder, Raj Hali. Raj, as we call him, came in and brought that technical side. And from there, we spent the next 8 months kind of building the platform. We knew that in the space, and my experience, and was going out on a limb, but if we built it, they would come.
Okay.
In 17, and proceeded to then grind it out for pretty much that year. Basically me and Raj, and kind of slowly build up, learn the business, refocus the business from going after contractors, which was a marketing issue and meant an expense for a bootstrap company, to refocusing to what was very different than everybody else, and going to the retailers, the suppliers of the world, and saying, yeah, I know we have a fleet, but your fleet breaks down. Your drivers don't show up. Yeah, you got customers who put in orders that they need right away, and you can't do because you're at capacity. And then, somebody needs something in a really, really fast emergency, you send a salesperson in the corporate pickup to go deliver it, not the best use of their time. And so once we did that pivot, we started seeing the real growth. And that kind of brought on some big partnerships with the Sexton Group in, kind of the winter, fall of 17. We got through a really interesting winter of 17, 18 before we came out and started really seeing that growth that was like 10 to 15% month over month. Brought in some great new co-founders, Tyler Nelson, Paul O'Driscoll, and then we slowly started to build that business up. And that business continued to grow. We've come through, what was a very crazy time, obviously, with everybody and COVID. COVID for us brought us a pivot, right? It changed the world. It was a watershed moment. We came out of that and saw great growth because we had partnered with Home Depot and complete integration because we're a technology-based, company. And that saw huge consumer growth. That also taught us that, this consumer growth side is not going away. E-commerce has been accelerated to 2030 levels overnight. And so we pivoted into a broader retail focus as well. So still have our construction side, but really focus on also delivering to broad retail, e-commerce fulfillment, Hudson's Bay Company, IKEA, all these different verticals under retail are now our partnerships. So we've launched we've brought on a lot of new customers over the last little bit, and we've expanded our logistics offerings beyond just last mile to the full delivery suite and last mile, to moving into the other pieces where we're doing cross-stocking for some customers and through partnerships, that sort of thing. And that brings us to today where we are, just release kind of some broad numbers where we grew 656% in the from this year's revenues versus last year. February revenues from February to December was over 1,200% growth. So, we're very excited about where we are as a company and what ways ahead for us.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely incredible, the growth that you guys are seeing. When sort of you were planning this, like sort of like when you first started this and you were writing it down on the napkin, did you sort of think it was going to get to like the level it is now? Like, did you think like, all the construction guys that you knew, like, oh, this is a very common problem. Like I know that this, I have a pretty good understanding that this company is going to do well, or was there a little bit of like, trouble at the beginning and of getting sort of the gears going?
Yeah. I was very steadfast in the belief that this would be a success. Right. And I dreamed big from day one. I dreamed much bigger than we are right now, where we're going. And then that's to be a unicorn, to be $1 billion company. And we're well on that way. But yeah, it wasn't without its hiccups, right? We had some interesting times. We went, we launched Edmonton. We brought our first employee on in November of 2017. We then, had some money, but some funding. But that was drying up and revenues were slow coming in. They were growing and we were getting some real traction. We had done an integration with a partner in Edmonton as well. But we had our cash flow issues, right? We did some pretty unique things or some pretty interesting things and had some pretty great luck, right? We were down, I remember sitting in January of 2018 and having a big insurance bill and pretty much no money in the bank. But then we were invited to the Cannes Pitch Fest to the Capital Angel Network. We pitched them on one of their evenings and thought that would lead eventually to an angel investment, but didn't realize there was an award for winning that pitch that night. So Nolan Beanlands called me the next day and said, "Brad, I got great news. You guys won." And I'm like, "Great, that's awesome." He goes, "No, there's more to it. There's actually there's a check there for you." And so that check got us through that next little bit. Kind of my audacity. Two of us pretty much working in the company and that time as well, decided that, we needed to kind of bring in other revenues and potentially, and kind of working with some friends on potentially bringing in a co-workspace. And so we rented actually a 6,000 square foot space in Westboro for two people. And then brought in tenants, and that revenue that we generated, because we worked such a great deal on our rent, the revenue we brought in actually carried me through that February, March into a part where we started actually seeing growth and we started making real revenues. So there's a lot of little luck and audacity, I guess, that kept us going, I should say.
Yeah, no, like that. I'm like, the more you speak, like the more like incredible your story is, and I actually love that you guys were thinking like, okay, like we need to get through the next year or something. How can we do this? And you guys thought about renting, like subleasing a space and making like making money on that, which is absolutely insane, which is really really cool. Now I sort of want to jump to like I found really interesting was like because like you guys are like sort of like well, I'm not like comparing you to Uber, but like some parts like there's a little bit of similarity. And I'm really interested about these companies, let's say like Uber, and then the same thing you might know Ruckify as well and stuff, and like gaining market share, right? And how did you guys, I know that you went to the suppliers, but how did you guys start getting drivers, right?
Yeah, so the driver equation in marketplaces, right? That supply is always, you got to have that there to get the demand, right? If I don't have drivers and I get the first retail order, the first delivery order, then you know what, we're in big trouble, right? If I get 10 one day and I only got 10 at the same time, I only have one vehicle. Again, we got to suffer through some hiccups. So in the early days, like everybody I've learned, and I'm talking to so many VCs and talking to so many different marketplaces, finds the way to MacGyver that solution early, right? So in our case, that was me, or sometimes Raj, jumping in the rental van. So we rented the van, and then we jump in and do deliveries. So the great about it is we got to learn how that delivery side worked in the business, right? We got to understand the metrics that a driver can live by every day, and what they can earn, because we were doing it, right? We'll have drivers saying, I can only do 8 deliveries a day. And I'm like, well, you know what? I don't think that's true. I was doing 14 a day. I was hustling a lot. I was loading the vans, which we now have our partners helping with, right? I was unloading the vans and the deliveries, and we were doing everything to make it happen. And so you kind of go through those stages. Then you start to grow your fleet. You probably start to think, well, I need consistency here. You hire an employee, an hourly driver. You put another rental van on, and you kind of start to meet the business that way. Then you start to say, okay, well, the model was this, right? We got to transition over to what we believed it was. And so then you slowly bring that, because you now have some decent predictable volume coming in on sales and deliveries. And now you can start to bring out drivers, knowing that driver is going to make he's got 8 to 10 deliveries easy today and every day, and he's going to make a living. And now, you know what? Now I got 24 deliveries. Okay, I can bring on 2 drivers. And so you start to do that. And we kind of grew that. But then when you spend on liquidity in new cities, where you give these guys a guaranteed minimum to be there. And again, now you're digging into your unit economics. And so we kind of went through those ups and downs of running negative to win business, throwing drivers in, MacGyvering the situation to make it work, until we got through kind of 18 and into 19, and we started to see that network effect start to take effect. And we were able to, actually 2020 is what really took effect, when we brought on Home Depot and rolled out there across Canada with them. We started to see that network effect, and we were able to now refocus timely, well, because we had to refocus our foundation of our business going into a watershed moment like COVID, where potentially, if it was like the .com days, investment would dry up on you. And so we refocused, and now we run a very, very healthy unit economic shop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, so like how you guys sort of started is you had that one market, and you guys were like, you guys either jumped in and actually did the deliveries, or you hired, like a driver just for those first couple of deliveries, until you pretty much had the, like the demand there, and so many people were using your app that, like drivers would want to come to pretty much and use your app, because, they're going to make more money, or however you lay it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. We did recruit drivers, and we kind of, we gave them the app, and then we gave them enough business that they would stay happy every day. And that's one of the key pieces about our success, is that, we're a customer obsessed company, right? Our customers and their end customers are what we focus on. We like to talk about making that experience an 11 out of 10. And because we've done that, we've become great custodians of our customers' brands, right? The stat is, in today's world, 82% of online buyers won't buy from that e-retailer again if they have a bad delivery experience. And now the only physical touch point on a lot of deliveries, if you buy online, is the delivery, right? So if my guys don't do a great job, right, then that brand is going to suffer, and eventually we're going to suffer. And so we've been doing a great job in making sure our drivers are happy. We rate their happiness every day. We rate their what's called the NPS score, the 5-star ratings. They on average, our drivers carry a 4.8 and higher. So we know that we're doing a very, very good job. Our success rates as a company on meeting a 2-hour delivery, 3 hours is a 98%. So that's 6 to 8% higher than the industry average on the urgent rush delivery. And so we focus on those metrics and the end result because we got to be custodians of our customers' brands.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's absolutely crazy. I sort of want to jump now to, you were talking about the explosive growth that you guys are seeing, and like when you start a company and that sort of starts happening, is like everything starts to become really fast paced, or that's what I sort of think, right? Like how do you sort of deal with like like, is there a lot more pressure when things start to move, like, when you're starting to grow so fast and you're trying to keep up with everything? Like how did you deal with that? Or did you, like, from your previous experience of running business, you knew, like, you've already experienced that before and you already had plans sort of in place to deal with, if there was a explosive growth in a certain market, or if something happened of that nature?
Yeah, you get that pressure, right? You start to see rapid hyper growth in our case. It adds pressure to the business, right? It adds pressure to you as the entrepreneur and to your team. The big key here in dealing with that, right, is you're probably dreaming it's going to happen. You may have some kind of plans, but it really is to make sure you have the proper management team there to support you. At the end of the day, my job is to put the right team together, maintain a strategic vision. And as I tell our guys, is get the heck out of the way of our executives, our management team, our sub-management team, right? As the rest of the company is just guide them, but stay out of their way, because they're the experts you brought in to solve that piece of the business, that problem, and they know what they're doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's some good points, right? Like don't micromanage the entire company. Like you brought these people in for a reason, let them do their job.
Micromanagement is a great way to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. So I know we're coming to the end here. I got two more questions for you. One is, what advice do you have for going through hard times? And the second one is about raising capital and how you were actually, like, how you pitched, at the Pitch Fest, and actually how you guys won.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of fail fast. I think you got to fail smart. And so when you're launching, you want to kind of create a thesis around your business, and then a whole bunch of different theses around your business, and then start proving them off, right? This is work if I MacGyver the situation. Okay, it does, right? Okay, can I get to a proper unit economics? Yes, I can. And you kind of build out this as you go. So you take a little bite-sized pieces and solve those and move along. I think that's a big key on getting the business ready. When you get to the investment side, I think my biggest mantra, maybe sometimes my co-founders shake their head, or some of the VCs maybe even, is be very, very transparent, right? If you got something wrong with your business, being able to know that it's wrong and articulate that to your VCs is great. That's going to build trust, because you know what? At the end of the day, if you got bad unit economics and you're trying to hide it, they're going to find it, right, in the data room. So we kind of went in with this is the business, this is the blemishes, but this is the vision, and we sold that vision and dealt with the blemishes as we went along.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's what I've heard a lot from, like, cause I'll have different people, like entrepreneurs on, and I'll always ask them to see like how they sort of pitch, to raise capital and stuff. And they say the same thing, is like being as transparent as possible, with your business, and really being able to show, like, if you have a clear understanding of your problems, that actually means you have a better understanding of your business, right? Because you know what's wrong, and now you know how to fix it, instead of being like, oh, we're losing money and I don't know why we're losing money or something, right? So
Exactly.
yeah. So I know we're coming to the end here. Where can people find out more about you, about your app, and other projects that you have going on?
Yeah, the best place is obviously the website, www, or you don't actually have to put that in anymore, but I think everybody says that. GoFor Delivers, so delivers is plural, .com.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Brad, for coming on the show. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing hearing about your story. And you dropped tons of knowledge, so I appreciate it a lot.
Great. Thanks, Max. I really enjoyed the conversation.